The following episode contains or may contain spoilers. So if you're spoiler sensitive, maybe beware.
Yeah, you sensitive people.
Get out.
Oh, get in.
I've been waiting for this episode for forever.
Oh, that's true.
Yep.
That's fun.
Welcome to the Phantom Zone. 3 cats, 1 podcast, and a sea of comics.
Yeah, wait. Oh, there is 3. You're right. I just had to count. Turns out you were correct.
I'm glad you finally decided to count on episode 40.
I crunched the numbers, and there are 3 of us.
I'm Noah.
Kayla.
Jared.
Are you sure that's who you are?
Give me a second.
Let's see if you just now realize what your name was.
Yes.
This is the last time we're going to be recording in the same room.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Forever.
No, that's not true. When you
Are
move
you
to
never
New
going to
York,
visit?
The 2019 is the end of all things.
well, we got like 6 more months, so 4 more months. No,
Yeah,
6.
for lots
6.
of other things to end. That's nice.
Yeah,
That's awful.
that's cool. Kayla's sad.
2020 doesn't exist.
Kayla, she's a sad girl. What a sad girl she would be.
They're moving to
Why
New
are you
York.
singing?
It's a song.
Yes, we're leaving this week. We'd already be gone by the time this episode airs, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine.
But we're still doing the podcast, guys, so don't worry.
Yeah, the podcast isn't going anywhere.
No, it'll still be in your ear holes
Mm-hmm.
every Wednesday.
We're going to Terry Gross it. You won't even know. Like Kayla's not here.
NPR.
Mhm.
Okay, so today we have a very special fan pick episode.
Patreon pick. I've
Yep.
been waiting for this forever. We're talking about Boy Scouts and comics. Sorry, Noah, I just stole your train because I'm the conductor now.
By the way,
It was funny because she wanted to do an episode
Mhm.
about Boy Scouts, and then when you donate to our Patreon, you get to pick an episode, and this lovely person, Aaron Campbell, put this as one of his choices. He gave us 3 choices, and then as soon as I read Boy Scouts, kids were like, that one!
Yes, please.
we should probably be clear that we mean metaphorical Boy Scouts and not like times the Weebelows who saved Spider-Man.
Not the actual Boy Scouts
Yeah.
of America.
Yeah.
That'd be weird. I don't
Yes.
know anything about that. I made it to, like, what's the, like, Beetle Scout? What's the lowest one?
I don't know.
I've
Yeah.
never been in
Maggot.
the Boy Scouts.
Is it Maggot?
Probably. I was wondering about it. And then I said, nope, this is boring.
Yeah.
Actually, when I was doing research for this episode, when I typed in Boy Scouts and comics, that's the first thing that tried to pop up was like the appearance of Boy Scouts of America in comics. And I'm like, no.
Surprise, guys. This is all the times Boy Scouts have ever appeared in comics.
3 times.
Yeah. So this, like I said, this is the Patreon pick for Aaron Campbell. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it, Aaron.
Thank you.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about Boy Scouts and what that means for characters. It's a good thing.
Yes.
Kayla, do you want to explain it a bit? Because I feel like you are
And
well
vibrating
equipped.
with energy. Because
You
it
are
was
that
topic
too.
one.
Scout. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm the Boy Scout.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because that I ended up being out of the Trinity.
Yep.
Superman.
And I'm Wonder Woman because I fill out Teddy.
Yeah.
Metal Teddy better than anybody.
I thought I was going to be Wonder Woman. And then
Obviously not.
You're
every-
obviously the dark one.
Yeah. Yeah.
I do want a lot of kids, and hopefully one of them turns out to be like
You all-
Damien.
Yeah.
Yeah. You
I
mean
know. Wait.
No, I'm saying he likes to bring home animals.
Yeah.
Not the murder part.
Dead animals.
That's nice.
Shut up.
Yikes.
Continue, Caleb.
Of course. So Boy Scouts, obviously we don't mean the exact organization, more of the character archetype or stereotype of kind of just being a goody-goody, adhering to the rules. We were kind of having a hard time pinning down the variable definition of what a Boy Scout is. Because a lot of the research that we were doing for the episode, Batman appeared on the list.
Mm-hmm.
And we were like, that's
Which is weird.
not what we mean.
Yeah.
And I think the reason that people were giving as to why Batman would appear on the list was because the Boy Scout motto of always be prepared, that is Batman to a T.
That's true.
That's like literally doing what the assignment says to do.
I feel like my definition of Boy Scouts, and at least, I don't know, you can correct me, the one that we were kind of loosely using is like a strict adherence to the rules. So not only are you like like a goody, like such a good person in terms of like an ensemble cast, but you're also just like, we have to follow these set of rules, and if you break it, that's chaotic. It's definitely like leaning towards the lawful.
See, but that's why Batman fits the definition. Now, I actually don't think he's the best example of it.
Yeah.
But there's certainly things about Batman that fit into that notion, that he has his own rules, that he has a strict notion of like a code. And I find also in a lot of team books, Batman becomes more that. Because in Justice League, it's like you got Superman who fills that role and he's very rebellious to them. But like Batman and the Outsiders, he ends up being the kind of like upstanding, everybody follow the rules, listen to me.
It's funny because usually like Batman's teams are like when he's like running Justice League of America or you know the Outsiders or anything like that. It's like he has this group of like kind of terrible people or like not really like not Superman like as far as like these are good people type thing. They're kind of like muddied past and stuff like that. And he's like the least worst of them. But kind of the scariest of them. But yeah, I mean, usually Boy Scouts tend to be the leader or just the natural one people gravitate towards. So that's why whenever I saw Batman on the list, I was kind of like, I think Superman is more of a Boy Scout. But then more thinking about it, I'm like, he kind of fits the actual definition of a Boy Scout, but he doesn't act like a Boy Scout because he uses fear as a weapon.
Yeah, like the Boy Scouts.
You mean the Boy Scout leaders?
Well, I think also what complicates this, and any trope, by the way, and I should mention that as well, this is the first like trope episode where it's like a character type or something like that. Like any trope, there's like an aesthetic that fits it. And sometimes you have people that sort of fit the definition but don't fit the aesthetic.
Yeah.
Like Batman.
Yeah, exactly. Or
versus like Captain America.
Exactly. I think a lot of times when we think of the Boy Scout, we think of like the square-jawed, upstanding, you know, big-chested, like doing
typically
the right
has
thing.
red or blue in their costume.
Yes, absolutely. And there's plenty of examples of that. We can kind of talk a little bit about that. But I guess before we go there, I did want to mention like the way that I see Boy Scouts in two ways in comics. Most of the time, like in team books, they end up being kind of like the authoritative or the person, like you mentioned, that kind of like is the lawful good. That
it's like the no, guys.
Yeah, we got a plan,
That's
people.
A little
we got to
too
follow
chaotic.
It. Yeah. Wolverine, get away from that electric fence or whatever it is.
He'll be fine.
And then Cyclops just sprays him with a
water.
Yeah. And then the other one is just like the kind of like sunny, just all around nice
Captain
character.
Marvel. I mean, Shazam.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Don't get confused.
The big red cheese. They're just like the kind of cookie baking, laid back.
Just very wholesome person.
Wholesome is a good word here. Very,
Cookie baking.
Oh, because
I don't think any of them have ever baked cookies.
I was gonna say cookie eating, but
Clark Kent. I can totally picture in an apron. It is.
That is true.
Yeah, Superman smells like freshly baked cookies. I'm pretty sure.
And moon rocks.
And moon rocks. What do moon rocks smell like?
It's Superman.
I see. So is this the part where we get to tackle the big three?
Oh, we should talk about them. Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yay. Okay, so we're doing mini deep dives on like secondary, not really front and center Boy Scouts earlier. But the whole reason I wanted to do this episode was because I wanted to talk about Cyclops.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then Noah and Jared were like, we'll all talk about Cyclops up top. You don't really have to do that research on him. And I was like, fine. That's fine.
Well, then really, like all these three characters, they could be episodes unto themselves.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Promise?
Yes, I do. I want to do it. You and I, we're both, I think you're clearly more attached, but I'm very pro-psych. He's in my top 10 characters,
Really?
I think. Yeah, I wrote it down. Yeah.
Awesome.
I mean, I'm not gonna like be the Debbie Downer here. I don't really care for him, but that's only me.
Whatever.
For me,
Yeah, whatever.
I mean, the Boy Scout characters are typically not usually my like
Faves.
favorites.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just. I mean, it's clear with like even my favorite Robin or like.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
Totally true.
it's not my cup of tea. I like them and I appreciate them, and there's definitely moments where. So just to put that out there, with the Boy Scout characters, especially Superman, whenever they have something super devastating happen to them, a lot of times they're more understanding of that happening, which for some reason makes it more sad. I don't know why. Like with the animated series or even the comic, whenever he dreamed, because the Black Mercy was on him, and he dreams that he had that whole life and family, and when he was letting it go, he understood, but it was just like... Like, he's such a good guy. Let
Yeah.
him have it.
As a matter of fact, let's deal with Superman first. Let's get to Cyclops
Okay.
because he's the most complicated
Yep.
Yes.
in this and
Well,
other
especially
things.
recently.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, so the Boy Scout in comics. I mean, if you connected
That's
those two,
his nickname.
yeah, exactly, among other things, but which would all be Boy Scouty.
Yeah.
Anyway, which is of course Superman. And I mean, he kind of exemplifies like the whole package, right? Because he's nice and kind and good. He always follows the rules. He's optimistic.
They're usually painted as like the all-American boy.
That's another thing, American, which is I shouldn't say like that it's specifically to that nation.
Yeah.
But there's also this sense of like responsibility that goes along with it. You know, it's not just like it's fighting evil, but also got to look like a symbol to inspire children. And
Yeah, it's always like
other
you
people.
guys said, like hands on the hips, chest puffed out, like looking very valiant and stuff like that.
And I think we can all agree that's boring. No.
No.
No, it's not. And we'll get to that, like whether it's boring or not or why. But we have to, even if you're a listener and you're like, I'm a rebel, screw that dude. I like Fonzie or whatever it is. You have to kind of admit that this is the template that things are like improvising off of. Characters that were developed, especially like in the 90s, which is like the anti this period.
Yeah.
That they were in reference to
Also
this.
known as Punisher era.
Yeah.
And
Lobo.
black suit Superman.
Oh yeah, and Lobo and Cable and Wolverine and, and a lot of people with Dead and Bullet and Dagger in their name or whatever.
Blood.
Yeah. Oh, Blood. That was really common. Which is so stupid. It's like, my name's Blood Dagger, like because blood is what's in people, and I hit them, and they
With
comes
the
out of
dagger,
them.
and there's blood on my dagger.
Yeah.
I feel like isolated Boy Scouts have the potential to maybe be boring. I don't agree because they tend to be some of my favorites. But I feel like one of my favorite things is the fact that because they're such a paragon, there's often a foil in either their solo books or in an ensemble cast that kind of represents the opposite side of that. But it also shows why both sides are necessary. So like with Superman, you could say it's Batman, even though we were arguing at the beginning of it about whether or not Batman fits the definition. Their demeanors are just so separate that Superman and Batman offer a nice foil, in which that's why I like the Boy Scout characters a lot.
It's kind of like Cyclops and Wolverine.
Exactly. I'll get
It's
to
like a good
that
analog
later.
between them.
But I actually think since we're on Superman and Batman, rather than being like Boy Scout versus non-Boy Scout, it's the two polar ends of the Boy Scout
Trope.
spectrum.
Yeah.
Or whatever. Because it's true, like Superman is very sunny, whereas Batman is definitely
well,
not.
I think
I am the knight.
Yeah.
I literally.
Yeah.
But I think with them, with the opposite ends of the Boy Scout spectrum, I think Superman really acts on emotion or what he knows to be right or the moral compass that he has or whatever. And Batman is very logical in what he does. He's a tactician. So I just think like it's interesting to see Boy Scouts in both sides of that because somebody that's thoughtful and planning this stuff out and usually is kind of creepy when their plan gets set into place, like, coming up with a plan to kill all the Justice League members in case that has to happen. It's like, I could see why that's a good thing to have.
And I think the question immediately emerges, who has more merit badges between the two of them? See, I would think first Batman, because Batman would have he would do all the technical stuff.
Yeah.
He would different ways to create a raft out of a bunch of
But
corpses or
Superman
whatever.
is the one that helped the old lady across
That's
the street.
exactly right. Can you imagine Batman trying to do that?
The old lady would be like, ah!
He's like, come on, why are you going so slow?
I am the knight. Yeah.
I feel like even people that don't because one of the...
Wait, before we get off, just that thing that he had in the first Batman that he does to the Joker, and it does the cables across the street, and then he just has this screaming lady. Sorry, okay, go ahead. Yeah, it's funny. It's funny. Okay, go ahead.
One of the parameters of this episode when Aaron kind of presented to us was how to make them better. And I'm just like, they're fine. Leave them alone. Even if that's not the type of character like Noah that you don't gravitate towards. I feel like DC would have this gaping void if Superman were to suddenly disappear.
Yeah.
Like,
well,
I
mean,
feel
it's
like...
happened too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a good point about what does it mean to make them better? Because I think I'm sort of with you on this, that making them better doesn't mean changing them.
Yeah.
It means putting in more interesting stories.
Yeah.
He did say in that sentence, he said the boring, in quotes, Boy Scouts and how to make them better. And I think the intent was that people usually think that Boy Scout characters are a little boring. I don't. I think some of the stories that they're put in are very, okay, this has been done. This is a Boy Scout character. Of course, when he goes bad and he comes back, they usually get brainwashed in some way, because if they're the ones that lose their mind or they flip sides, then everybody's running around with their heads cut off. Like, you know, so I think like stories like that, they're kind of predictable in a way. You know, so when Superman has lost his mind, it's like, okay, who's going to stop him to bring it back? Yeah. Cyclops, the same thing. Well, I mean, he's currently.
Well, here, the thing about that is that it reminds me of when people say like, well, Superman's boring because he's like, you know,
always a good person.
Well, no, but in a way where it reflects they just don't read the comics.
Yeah.
So they'll say he's boring, or sorry, like, oh, he's invincible, so he can't be hurt. It's like, yeah, all of his villains can kill him.
Yeah.
So in a similar way, it's like you think those comics are boring because they don't appeal to you to begin with, and so you don't read them.
Yeah.
So it's like, the version that you have in your head, and we all do that a bit. Like there's certain concepts that don't appeal to me as much, so I don't invest myself in the stories. But it's like usually very talented writers make Superman stories that are quite interesting.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. I mean, it's the same with all of them. But I'm that's what I'm saying. I think people have that conception about those characters that they are boring, and they're definitely not. I mean, I'm not too like reading the comics, like Captain America comics. Those are probably the least amount that I've read out of most of the big superheroes. The ones I have read are good, and they're not just like him being like, "Oh, help this lady take her groceries inside." It's like that's not what this is about.
Well, are we transitioning to good old Cap now?
I think that's a good idea, because I think there's a like spectrum here just in terms of their relationship to other characters. Superman is kind
Tony.
of yeah. Well,
it's foiled.
Well, I was gonna say, and that's an interesting. I didn't think about that, but that's pretty true, especially in the last like 20 years or so. Because Superman, I mean, he has a foil in Batman, but generally speaking, he would be that in a room full of other wholesome characters. People would be like, Superman's pretty. No, I mean, if it was just a bunch of wholesome-y people, they'd still be like, that guy's the real wholesome.
Well, that's why whenever Superman said, you know, like appreciated Dick Grayson, and he's like, he's really good, and like he validated him and stuff, everybody's like, this guy validated him.
Yeah.
Dick Grayson's great.
Dick Grayson's the shit.
He's got the Superman stamp of approval.
He has a big stamp.
Yeah.
Just does it on their forehead.
No, and Superman's so strong, he's like, his back has been severely injured and everything. Anyway, okay. But yeah, Captain America definitely fits into this thing. And you know what? He's a little bit more of the Boy Scout, the troop leader, I think.
Yeah, I agree. He's, I believe, kind of a combination of Batman and Superman, because he's definitely not as sunny as Superman is. Especially like a lot of the stuff that I've been reading recently with Cap. He's kind of been the darker, like more stoic one. In terms of, I don't know, just personality. But of course, he's still the paragon that Superman is in DC. It's like, oh, if Cap believes it's right, then, you know, I mean, it's probably right.
There's a great scene in the latest issue of Avengers where they're done with the War of the Realms, and they're all in a jacuzzi. It's a really weird scene of the Avengers all naked,
super weird,
in a jacuzzi, but you get thought bubbles. That's kind of almost rare these days. And Captain America is like, okay, there's Crossbones is still out there, and I think the Serpent's inside. So he cannot relax. And so I think in certain ways he's more wound tight the way that Batman is, sort of psychologically.
About like planning and
yes.
Well, I mean, usually a really good distinguishing factor for the Boy Scout characters that they always feel like they have the weight of the world on their shoulders at all times.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very clear with Captain America, like you just explained. Superman is always doing that. I mean, there's a reason why he goes up into space and listens, because he can never stop.
Yeah.
And they're also often sort of believers in something. They have faith, and they usually have a relatively, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but like not simplistic, but a clear moral sense.
Yeah.
That there's good and bad, and human beings are basically set up to be towards the good and stuff like that. And I think Captain America definitely has that kind of like, you know, we've just got to ask the American people, and I don't know why he's Obama, but anyway.
I don't think you should do that.
Yeah. No, definitely.
Don't ask the American people.
Look
what happened last time.
That was close. It was very close.
But you bring up a good point. I feel like one of the other things that kind of defines Boy Scout characters in general is that they can never stop. I feel like because they have that weight of the world on their shoulders and they have that sense of responsibility, they just can't quit. And it reminds me, he's probably said this 7,000 times in the comics, but I think is it Winter Soldier when he was like, or at the end of Avengers maybe, where he was just like, I'm home. Like, I can't quit. This is my life.
Yeah.
I'm not going to retire.
You're thinking of Brokeback Mountain.
No.
I wish I knew how to quit you.
I mean, with the same sense, yes.
Yeah.
That's what Captain America said to present time.
Yeah.
Not his time.
It's like, this is just who I am.
That's funny, because he did do that, but whatever. We won't
He
get into
retired.
I'm so mad.
He retired. That's okay.
Nope.
that. He said he would
Stupid.
never.
It's stupid.
I'm
Endgame is stupid for the end.
I'm with you. We definitely
The end of Endgame is not good.
Yeah,
I agree.
It's interesting how bad it is.
So, Captain Marvel.
Yes.
Shazam. To be specific.
Yes.
I think he's definitely up there with the Boy Scouts.
For sure.
I mean, I think he's literally a Boy Scout when he's Billy. So
I don't think so.
He could, though.
He could be.
a
He
Boy
could be.
Scout.
Yeah.
He should. That should be the next.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's just... Even when, I mean, all of his origin stories, mainly the last two, that it shows he's kind of this, like, disgruntled, kind of not caring.
Troubled
and,
teen.
Exactly. But even with all of that, he could have easily been just kind of a dick the entire time. But when he knows that something's bad's happening, he will immediately step up and do it.
Sure.
Like, if you've seen the movie, it happened the same way in the comics. Whenever Freddy's getting beat up, he helps him, even though he was reluctant to even accept him as a friend. Let alone a brother or part of his family. I think that's a good indicator of somebody that is a Boy Scout.
I never would have thought of him.
Really?
Yeah, he never would have popped into my list. I don't know why.
Well, there's a kind of criticism here through him of the trope itself, which is it childish?
Yeah.
Again, I don't think it inherently is, but the idea that like one of the perfect fits for this trope is
A child.
sort of says something. But that cuts both ways, because in some sense, I think people would argue that like if you have a very good versus bad view of morality, that's, you know, teenagers are absolutely true about what's right and wrong. And if you ever talk to them, they're very confident, having no experience in the world.
I would trust them with my life.
Yeah. But on the other end, I mean, I think we all tap into that notion of like having the like innocent heart of a child and stuff like that. And that's a positive thing for adults to keep. So I think, there's a cool like interplay.
Well, I mean, just the fact that Superman and Shazam / Captain Marvel are both on the list, some of the oldest superheroes in comics kind of goes towards like, I feel like Boy Scouts are kind of what comic books were made for. They're kind of supposed to be the epitome of like a hero, the good guy, the right person. I mean, I don't feel like it's childish. I feel like it kind of gives like the origin kind of indicates something to look up to.
Yeah. I mean, I think as far as like the childish thing, I think with that, it's not necessarily saying they're naive, but thinking, I mean, usually, and it's been explained in comics or in literature and everything, that usually thinking that there's black and white, good and bad.
They tend to be unwavering in their beliefs.
Exactly. And like to think that way, a lot of people think it's naive, but yet us as adults and a lot of people that have lived past like that adolescent age wish we could still think that things were just good and bad and there was no weird, complicated in between. Yeah. So I think like even just with Captain America, Captain Marvel or Shazam, that I think having that mentality, I think is a good way to be a Boy Scout, because he doesn't have, even though he knows that there's bad shit in the world, i.e. Black Adam and his parents and everything that has happened in his origin story, he still has that very strong moral compass. Yeah, if you take the opposite poles here, there's a negative idea about people that are on either end. So if you're so much the Boy Scout, it's argued you're naive, you lack experience. But if you're on the other end, you're cynical. Yeah. And that's bad too. Like that, you know what I mean? And I think it's cool that we have these paragons that we're like, this is what we, as long as we don't punish people too much for not living up to that, then I think it's a very interesting and sort of useful like literary
and
device.
Necessary trope to have. Speaking of punishing people for not living up to it, should we talk about Cyclops? We should. We should because Cyclops. The disrespect. No, but Cyclops to me is the most daring attempt to take this trope and maintain it, but then rub it in the dirt for 15 years. In other words, not keep him behind glass
and this Boy Scout character, like break in case of evil or whatever. But to be like, let's take that character and then put him in very realistic quasi-political situations, which has happened to Zyke a lot.
I mean, I think with him, and there's a couple of the characters too that are going this route of, because you have the villain and the hero, and now there's anti-heroes and anti-villains.
Yes.
And now you're starting to see, or at least I'm starting to see this thing. There's the Boy Scouts and then the anti-Boy
Scouts. Yeah.
But then you have these like troubled Boy Scouts that are kind of like in the middle. So you have like Cyclops.
Yeah.
That's right there. It's like he's still good. Like he still has everything that he's built his life to, or like instilled in people and been that leader and everything. But he's put in these situations that show that he's capable of not doing the right thing all the time, even though he thinks it's right.
Because as it turns out, he's a person.
He's not.
I love it. My feeling towards what they've been doing with Cyclops is so complicated. Because I really like when they put those characters in stories, because again, the Boy Scouts tend to be some of my favorites in positions where they have to question their moral beliefs and their when they have to kind of like question what they believe is right, and like when they're really just self-doubting, when they're put in those stories, I find it super interesting. There's some of my favorite stories in movies, television shows, comics, what have you.
You like taking that like character development or their like archetype and like seeing how far they'll go with it to keep it.
Yeah, exactly. But I like when they come back to themselves, and I feel like Cyclops' story is just like this downward spiral where it's just like twisted, and
it's like after the first 5 years you're like, is there any?
Yeah, I feel like the recovery time is taking a little longer than I like in these stories,
There's reasons for that, because there's a kind of bias where when he does things that are bad or fails or something like that, it's very conspicuous. But the moments where he sort of acts more true to type or how he used to be get less traction and less press.
Yeah.
But there have been several attempts in the last like 10 years to kind of bring him back to form, and I think he's closer now.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard for some reason. It's been in like kind of like offshoots or like tie-ins and stuff where he's doing that, and I don't know if that's like them trying to like test if people want him to go back to be that, but it's like,
yes, please.
If you just turn on Twitter and type in Cyclops, a lot of people are like, this is a little too much, guys.
Again, I like those stories. I just feel like this particular character has been going on for too long, and in like the simplest sense, he's one of the most Boy Scouty characters, or at least he was, because he has that, like you had mentioned at the beginning, like that authoritarian, like, we have to play by the rules, Wolverine, please stop.
Even Logan will a lot of times like be like, okay. He'll fall in line.
Yeah.
Thing.
I mean, weirdly enough, I think Cyclops is one of the best examples of this, because he hits kind of all the marks. Lately there's been this corrosion of that character, but like, so originally he's the leader of the X-Men, but moreover he's one of the greatest believers in Xavier's ideas.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Then the
dream.
enforcer of those rules. And when people go against them, that's when he was like, no, we have to, that's not what we're supposed to be doing.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's something interesting about like the idea that Professor X is this like MLK-esque like visionary, and that, but then you have to have a team that kind of acts as a peacekeeping force, and he's very much like, well, we're going to need 3 meals a day, and we're going to have to train this time. So he provides a kind of structure for it. And then what's cool too is that because he does this team thing and he's a little bit more authoritative, you get very direct confrontations with rebel characters in the classic 90s, like sort of Wolverine and Gambit and things like that. And so you get to see, like, as all foils do, they bring out the like stark characters' traits.
Exactly. I love it. Please go back there.
It seems like it's going that way. I mean, hopefully, I kind of like it. I mean, I like...
Boo. How does it feel to be wrong?
Okay. That's a very Boy Scout thing to say.
Well, there's always a struggle when they make these changes about like fundamental changes. Sometimes it's like Nightwing, we've talked about this, where there's been this development and people are just overall really happy with the movement overall. Yeah. And so the changes really stick. But then when some cool stories happen and Cyclops basically becomes like the new Magneto for a while, it's like, that's really interesting, we like it, but that's not the same character anymore.
It just leaves a void for where that character was. Yeah. And people that liked that character originally are like, You don't go where I can't follow.
Baby, come back. I will blame it all on me.
That's my
Okay, sorry.
You're saying like 3 times already.
Sometimes
That's
it's
normally
in my
me.
head.
I know.
Yeah. You need to start singing. It sounds like.
No,
sounds like you
I
need
don't.
to sing. Well, anyway, yeah. So I think they either need to go full Magneto.
No.
I know you're not feeling it, but I'm just saying, Cyclops is just a bad guy, and that's how he is. Or I think they need to kind of go back because Cyclops has been in this kind of like, what is he place, and I could use some concrete development, some
but
5
I
or
think-
6 year development.
I think that's fine. I mean, he has wavered a little bit one way or the other,
Yeah.
how far he's gone. I mean, even in Avengers versus X-Men, like, you really saw him going more towards, like, the tyrant instead of, like, just enforcing the rules or being somebody where people can follow. But I think that's...
like
I mean,
a
I don't-
militant.
Yeah,
like
I
a
mean-
strict enforcement, like the tyrant makes sense, and that's still part of the Boy Scout trope. but
Exactly. It's just, like, a radical version of, like...
as long as they can snap back.
Yeah, I mean, but that I like that. I'm a huge fan of characters being broken down and then being built back up.
But where's the build back up?
Yeah. I
Where is it?
No, I'm all about that. I think my feeling is just let's eliminate vagueness.
Yeah.
Like I like the idea that there's this tension or that he's has conflict or he could go in other directions. But I think at any given time now, over the last 5 years, I'm like, I don't really know where Cyclops is.
You could
at
pick up
anymore.
an issue and be like, is he the Boy Scout now?
Yeah.
Or is
Yeah.
he the...
I can get that with a character that has had this much history.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not necessarily a bad thing if it was a different character.
Sure.
But I think he's one of the original X-Men and people have all the standards and high hopes for him, I guess.
As fans of the character, you can see where we're coming from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not friends with him. I just are
Friends with him? You're friends with him?
No, he said not.
I have to tell you. Yes, I am friends with him. And that's why I don't like him.
Oh, man.
No, but he's just not one of like my favorite X-Men. But whatever.
Wouldn't this be a weird moment to find out he had like dissociative disorder? Like it's deeply.
That's my mutant power.
God's right
Yeah.
there, guys. What do you mean you can't
Yeah,
see
yeah.
him?
He's been behind you.
You're
this whole
sitting
time.
on him right now. He's probably mad.
All right, so now we picked some of good examples of Boy Scouts, maybe ones that aren't. If you Google, don't Google Boy Scouts in comics,
Yeah.
like we said earlier,
Yeah.
but Google comic book characters that are Boy Scouts or something. You'll usually only find a list of 5 characters.
Yeah.
So we decided to pick ones that aren't on those lists or that do exemplify the Boy Scout nature in some way or another. We picked all 3, so we're going to mini deep dive those guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I think it's funny because like when you look for that trope, there's like such classic examples. It's hard to get past them.
Yeah,
Just,
yeah.
Again, just
I
like
mean,
Captain
like,
America.
yeah,
Mr. Fantastic appeared on a lot of lists, too, and I'm
Makes
like,
sense.
I don't agree with that, but
I think, I
I think he's definitely more on like the anti-Boy Scout type thing, only
Yeah.
because of like what he's doing his decisions on or what he's doing it for.
No, I'm with you, and it's just aesthetically different. I know that doesn't seem that important, but it's sort of like you can take all those traits and then wrap it up into a ninja, and it's like, okay, technically it's a Boy Scout, but I'm seeing a ninja.
yeah.
You know what I
yeah,
mean? It's a little
yeah.
different. Okay, cool. So anyway, mine is outside of yours. Anyway, now I see
Yeah, I'm like,
that.
are you foreshadowing mine?
That's just
Thanks.
one of the. Okay, I was thinking of another trope, but okay. Anyway, the listener, will understand what we're talking about very shortly. Anyway, so I picked Captain Britain, and I feel like
What
he's
is he captain of?
France. No. He's Captain Britain. I'll explain him, but I feel like he's one of those characters in the like sea level, but he's been around for a long time. And in terms of this trope, he very easily fits into it. He's very like, handsome, square jawed, does the right thing. To give you a sense. One, I think he's got the coolest costumes in all of comic.
It is pretty cool.
He's had so many iterations, and they're all just basically like a big superhero-esque design with the Union Jack just splashed all over him. That's
It's like if you made if you just dipped him in the Union Jack like print with just it's insane.
And the idea sort of
colorful.
originally is that when Marvel began to sort of like become a larger publishing house and they were expanding, they were like,
Overseas.
well, it's going to be really hard to sell Captain America to other countries
I
because
really
it doesn't.
want Captain
yeah,
America
yeah.
and Captain Britain to be in the same room with me and just see
Yeah.
how they interact with each other.
Well, here's the thing too. Speaking of which, Captain Britain was actually in this latest Spider-Man movie. Apparently, there was a brief cameo. I haven't seen it, but people talking about it a lot. I know. Just so look that up, guys.
Did they go to?
Yeah, they were in Britain for a bit.
Huh, I guess I forgot.
Yeah. Anyway, so to give you a sense of his powers, is that he's. It's almost like they took Captain America and was like, what if he was Superman or something like that?
Yep.
Because though he didn't start out with his powers, the basic idea is super strong. He's in that like 90-ton thing, Colossus kind of range.
However much that
Exactly. There's a nerd like message board expression for his power set. They call him the flying brick.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very common sort of
Wow.
thing, which is like you got the strength, the stamina, the durability, but also you can fly.
Yeah.
And so similar to Kryptonians, but you don't have necessarily the speed and the I-beams or whatever.
Yeah.
Or frosty breath.
Yeah. So basically, what's really cool about Captain Britain is he takes the kind of sci-fi superhero genre and he infuses it in kind of Arthurian legend.
Mm-hmm.
So that is basically his history. What happened was, like, he was Brian Braddock, who was like a physicist student. Whenever they do magic stuff, and they're like, "We got to give it to a science nerd,"
Yeah.
because they want to build in that contrast or whatever. So he was doing it. He was at some sort of research center as like a graduate student, and these like mercenary criminal people attack him, and he like the noble coward springs into action by running away. but they catch up to him and drive his motorcycle off the road, and he lays on the street dying and bleeding and dying. And then all of a sudden, who but Merlin
Oh,
should
nice.
appear before his dying corpse
Thanks,
with Merlin.
Merlin.
Yeah, thanks, Merlin. With his daughter Roma. Merlin has a daughter, Roma, in these sort of things. I don't know if she's an Arthurian legend or not. And by the way that they deal with the Merlin like kind of legend, it's kind of like the Asgardians, that they're like half magic, half extra dimensional, whatever. We don't really know. But anyway, so he's like, "Hey, would you like to bleed and die, or would you like to be Great Britain's greatest champion?"
I will take the bleeding and time.
And Ryan was like, "Well, okay, I'll be Britain's greatest champion." And he gets a choice between, which I guess is like a secret choice, that if he gets it wrong, he's screwed, but he doesn't know it. But he picks right, which is he get between the amulet of right or the sword of might. And he's like, "Well, I'm a nerd, so I'm a nerd. I can't use a sword," or whatever. He's British, and he
Is that
picks.
what British people sound like?
That's Dick Van Dyke from Mary Poppins. Anyway, but so he picks the amulet right and becomes Captain Britain, and he fights the mercenaries led by this guy, the Reaver or
I
whatever.
would have
Anyway,
been screwed. I would have chosen the sword.
I know, and actually, subsequently, a lot of people have, and it still gives you powers. You just usually become like a bad guy. That's kind of
So I would have been a villain.
Yeah. Or like a too aggressive sort of thing. But then he becomes Captain Britain. And over a period of time, he's had kind of like different powers and stuff like that. Originally, he was just this sort of like strong guy with a staff. You know what I mean?
That's appealing.
The power of the Union Jack, whatever. And then slowly they kind of
What,
like...
primary colors? Is that-
Yeah, I mean, you guys have to, please, listener, look up Great Britain. He's just got the most outlandish but awesome costumes. Anyway, and then he got a star staff, which gave him the power of flight. And then they settled on he has this costume that gives him the power to fly. And the costume is like kind of this like beacon that connects him to the rest of his powers.
Yeah.
And then most recently, the latest incarnations have kind of kept that power set and that idea, but he no longer has to have the costume. The costume helps it, like makes it easier for him to focus his power. But it's really that he needs to be within contact with Great Britain, because it's the focal point of Otherworld, which is the world where all of the Arthurian characters live, a kind of pocket dimension where also a tremendous amount of Earth's magic is located.
Nice.
Right?
So this is just once upon a time. In
Very
Britain.
much. Yeah.
Because Arthurian legends.
Because
yay!
and that's what comics kind of superhero comics will end up doing, which is taking mythologies or mythoses and then kind of saying that they're real, but they're kind of like it's a more sciencey notion, like they're kind of
It's
connected.
just the excuse
via,
of like they're in another dimension.
Exactly.
They've been here the whole time.
yeah, exactly. And they're still magical and everything. Anyway,
I like how for Britain they chose to do Arthur. The whole like Arthur legends and stuff like that. I just think it's funny. It's like you could have gone like one or other direction. It's like Sword in the Stone. That's a good one.
Well, and ironically, the Arthurian legends aren't even British. The Britons kind of embraced them. Tolkien wrote The Lord of the Rings, he said, because he wanted there to be actually a fully British set of mythos, because you could connect the Arthurian ones to like Danish and Spanish and all this different kind of stuff like that. But something to tell you about Captain Britain, which is very random but pretty cool, is that the multiverse is a huge part of his mythos.
Ooh.
Spider-Man for the last 20 years has been doing this, but Captain Britain for the longest time, it's kind of what he's about. And Otherworld connects to all these other multiverse dimensions and stuff like that. And there is
aptly named.
Absolutely, and there is a Captain Britain core.
Oh, jeez.
And it's sort of like Rick from Rick and Morty, like how there's all the different like Citadel of Ricks and stuff like that.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and so a huge part of I'm really having a hard time with Captain Britain's adventures are like otherworldly versions of him that have gone bad, are too powerful, and he's got to fight and stuff like that.
His main story is killing himself over and over again.
That's kind of the idea. Just a few fun facts, and then we'll move on. His twin sister. Do you know this twin sister is?
Yes.
Who is it? Do you know?
I thought you said, "Do you know what a twin sister is?" I was like, "Yes,
I know
Have
what
you
a twin
ever
is.
heard? There's a scientific aberration happens. It's called twins. No. Anyway, his twin sister is Psylocke.
What?
Yeah, and you're like, but isn't she an Asian person? Correct. But the problem is that wasn't Psylocke's original body. Psylocke's name was Betsy Braddock.
Right.
But when she was killed, her spirit infused, or possessed the body of a ninja in Japan.
Oh.
And
it's so close.
Comics are so fun.
It's super close by Japan
Yes.
to Britain that it makes.
Well,
so
the
much
character's
sense.
name was, I think, Revanchi, or ended up being named Revanchi, and
I'm glad they don't have that name.
yeah, exactly. But her name was Quanon,
Yeah.
but she ended up taking.
I actually
that
kind
name.
of like that name.
Yeah,
I
it's
don't
pretty
like
cool.
Revanchi. That just sounds.
Well, that
gross.
was so she comes back after to revenge against Saw. Point being,
She Revanchis.
yeah, exactly. I'm probably pronouncing that so awfully.
I think
but
you
it's some
are.
sort of French word that I just. But the point being is that just how it so happens that Psylocke is connected to Brian Braddock, and she is a mutant. Psylocke was a telepath. Brian's just a normal dude who got possessed or blessed by Merlin. You know how it is, that old story.
Yeah.
Another thing, Brian Braddock was roommates with Spider-Man for a while. That's kind of cool.
What?
Yeah, they did a foreign exchange situation, and
Did you misunderstand the assignment? Or are you just doing the most ridiculous?
No, I
you could possibly.
it was early on. That was part of the character's development before he kind of got flying and
This
super
is amazing,
strong.
Noah.
Yeah, and Spider-Man kind of trained him for a little bit. Like
What?
he was almost like a sidekicky kind of thing. But well, I'll get to that in a second. And then the last thing I'll say,
Okay.
a really cool thing that that Captain Britain did was start Excalibur. Excalibur is a team. They're sort of like the X-Men of Britain, and that a lot of the characters that have been in there, like Shadowcat, Kitty Pryde, Nightcrawler, different characters like that.
Kurt Wagner.
Kurt Faulkner. Yeah.
You keep like pointing to me their names.
Yeah,
I'm like,
thank you. Yeah.
Thanks, Jared. I got it.
Well, no, but they don't really say Shadowcat anymore. It's just Kitty Pryde. But for a long time, she was Shadowcat. Anyway, so there's a lot of X-Men characters in Britain, but they function more like Britain's Avengers. And so that's Captain Britain. And he ends up being more the Superman kind of character. He's very laid back. He's not like so much authoritative. If anything, he's kind of aloof, kind of goofy, kind of a doofus. But a real hero, and also
So I'd say he's more Captain Marvel, not Superman. If he's that way.
Yeah. I'm
Because
with
Superman, his presence alone, people were just like,
It's him.
yeah.
Well, no, he's very much that way.
In Britain.
I'm connecting Superman and Captain Marvel here as pretty similar attitudinally or whatever. He's very much on that end. He's not the like, come back here, Nightcrawler. You got chores. Yeah. So that's Captain Britain.
Yay!
Yeah.
The more you know.
Check him out. He's great. He
I'm
really is
fascinated
fun.
now. Yeah.
Okay, my pick
Yes.
is super out of left field.
Yes.
It's Leonardo from
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Oh wait, are these those heroes, but on the half shell? Is that who you're talking about?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
cool.
the ones that like pizza and live in
like
New York
that.
in the sewers.
I love Leonardo so much.
So just to give you some background, if you haven't paid attention to any type of media in the last like 30 years.
It's under a rock.
So Leonardo, aka Mr. Swords, and aka Boy Scout. So that is one of his nicknames. How aptly named. So his abilities, and the reason why I'm saying his abilities is because you might think you know his abilities, but that's, you don't. If you've never read the comics, you don't know that he has astral telepathy. So that is a power that he has, along with mastery of ninjutsu, combat martial arts, Olympic level skill, and exceptional leadership qualities, which I thought was funny that they listed that under his abilities.
He's a good leader.
Yeah, that is a good leader. His weapons are the katanas.
Yes.
And he named one Masashi and Kazumi. So those are, I don't know which one is in which hand. I don't know how he tells them apart. But he has two katanas.
Are the turtles strong, by the way? I've
Yes.
always been a little confused about that.
They're not
right?
like, it depends on what you're reading, but
Yeah.
they're stronger than humans.
Yeah.
But they're not like super strong.
They're not like rip a car in half strong.
No.
But they're like pick up a guy by the neck strong.
Yes.
Okay.
But like I said, it depends on who you're
Who's
reading.
writing them
Yeah,
currently.
I
Exactly.
gotcha. Yeah.
And then just to give you some backstory, because like I said, if you've only seen like the
TV
movie
show.
that came out a long time ago, or even the TV show, so Leonardo is one of four brothers. Michelangelo, Donatello, Raphael, and Leonardo. He's the reincarnation of one of the sons of Hatu Yoshi from medieval Japan. He was murdered by somebody, and the sons reincarnated into these turtles.
Didn't know that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Really?
Cool. No, I didn't know that. I didn't know about the reincarnation aspect.
Yeah, they reincarnate. Like oh, interesting. I thought you guys knew that.
Wait, are you saying reincarnation is real? I didn't know.
Yes. And the first time you reincarnate, you go into a turtle.
That's cool.
That's awesome.
But he was in New York. He was a water turtle hatchling in the laboratory of Stock Gen Research, Inc. So they did a bunch of experiments. These turtles were like guinea pigs to breed naturally armored soldiers. So get it? The shells. They were trying to like figure out how to do that. So this is really funny. So ninjas seize the turtles for various research reasons.
Yeah.
Nobody really knows why.
That makes sense to me.
Ninjas stole the experimental turtles.
Including the super soldier mutagen. That's what they called it.
Yeah.
So, because comics, ninjas steal serums and turtles
Hell
from
yeah.
laboratories. And also because of them doing this, the mutagen got onto the rat, which is Master Splinter.
Yay.
So that's how these giant life-size creatures came to be, was all this mix-up. So the cocktail of all of the mutagen, the stuff in the sewers, the turtles, all of it, that's how they came to be. And the reason why Leonardo is the Boy Scout, it's not only because he was just the natural leader when they were growing up. I mean, you have all the dynamics. You have Donatello, which is super smart, nerdy, kind of Batman, but not as scary. And you have, Raphael, that I would say he's more of Batman's personality.
He's the Wolverine.
Yeah.
of the
Oh, that's a
Turtles.
good one.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
a good one. And then you have Donatello, which he's just goofy.
Mikey.
You meant Michelangelo.
Michelangelo.
Yeah.
Who did I say?
You said
Donnie.
You said Donnie this time.
Oh.
You already covered Donatello. And Michelangelo.
Yes. So Michelangelo is definitely the goofball. And then Leonardo. So he had to fill the role of being a Boy Scout. One of the interesting things about him is that he's surprisingly spiritual. He's like really the only one that has strict, like, I believe that this is for a purpose, that we're all here for a purpose. We all need to be good because everybody is inherently good.
He's always meditating and shit.
Yeah.
He does.
Yeah, yeah.
No, he does.
He does
Yeah.
meditate, and they got so
It was in the movie.
That's what I was going to say. It's really funny that they took parts of some of this original content and put it into the movies.
Yeah.
But also didn't. So
I like that first movie. I really do. I think it's super fun.
I actually like all of them. I mean, some of them get a little weird, and but I've always liked all of them. So he usually plays by the rules of Master Splinter. He's always the one. So that's what we talked about earlier. He's the one that, like with Cyclops and Professor X, it's Leonardo and it's Splinter.
Yeah.
Because usually Raphael's the one that's rebelling against them, but he typically listens to him. Donatello, or why do I keep saying that?
I don't know.
Michelangelo is always the one that's kind of not caring and will go with anything.
Yeah, Raphael's definitely Wolverine because he's got the size. He's got 3. And Donatello, totally beast.
Yeah.
And
Mikey.
Iceman or Nightcrawler. I don't know. But it's easy. It's pretty easy to like map these on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's really cool because you have these 4 characters and they all kind of play like different archetypes and they balance each other out. But one of the things with Leonardo is he does get brainwashed quite a bit, or there was a really sad story.
Oh, do tell.
He got brainwashed into thinking that all his brothers were murdered, and Master Splinter was the one that did it. And so he became bad and he joined the Foot Clan and he was bad for a while. And it was just this whole story of like them trying to get him back because he thought they were all dead. And he thought they were imposters.
That's so sad.
And so he was going to kill Master Splinter because he was avenging his brothers, and the spirit of his dead mother is actually what brought him back. So that's where his whole spirituality stuff comes in.
I'm sensing a trend here too, and it makes sense from a writing standpoint where it's like the more righteous and upstanding these Boy Scouts are, righteous. The more tubular they are, the more generally like they're prone to corruption.
Yes.
And have stories that's sort of about them going bad.
That's cool. As long as they come back.
Yeah.
I can get into like other examples of him and go on and on, but that's usually how the dynamic of them turns out. I mean, I would read you should definitely read some of these comics because they're not just Ninja Turtles like fighting
they're
other
also
ninjas.
teenaged.
Well, they are, but there's
and mutants.
There's really good dynamics between all of them, and they're actually good stories. Like they're not.
I just love the family relationship of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Again, because they're all so different. I feel like it really lends itself well to stories that, like, oh, okay, of course they have to take down. I was going to say the hand because the rip off.
I mean,
the foot.
Yep, and Shredder. Yeah, I mean,
and there's a reason it's probably the most popular non-Marvel DC.
Yeah, it's IDW.
Property. Yeah,
currently. Yeah, IDW is the company that publishes this comic, which is a subset of DC.
Yeah,
it's technically indie, but they actually have comics with Batman quite a bit. Actually, Batman's usually involved with them, which is also weird because they're in New York. And does New York ever exist in DC?
Yeah,
I know they do, but I'm saying like the big cities aren't actual cities that exist. So yeah,
Did you see the Batman versus Ninja Turtles?
Yeah,
cartoon that came out recently.
Yeah,
it's actually pretty good. I just watched the fights on.
I
want
to watch this.
It's really good. Yeah,
what you guys? Tell me about this.
Yeah.
You should watch it.
Those are like 2 of my favorite things.
Yeah, I would recommend it. And even the comics, Batman and the Ninja Turtles, you wouldn't think it'd be a good pairing, but since they all have these different personalities, and there's like the Boy Scout, the Rebel, and the Ditz, and then the science guy or whatever, like interacting with Batman is really funny.
Yeah.
And also really good and kind of compelling. So
it seems like Leo.
The movies.
Oh, yeah. It seems like Leo and Batman would get along the best. If I had to guess.
Donnie?
It was more Raphael and Batman.
Oh, okay.
A little bit. Only because their attitudes are
I totally would have said Donnie.
Standoffish. A bit.
Interesting.
The smart ones.
We just knew it wasn't Michelangelo.
Yeah.
Donnie was a little standoffish with him, or a little more skeptical.
Yeah.
And so was Leonardo, but Raphael just didn't care.
Oh, that makes sense because Leo and Batman are so much alike. It didn't.
Yep. So that's my pick.
Cool.
Leo.
That's a good pick. I love Leonardo.
Me too. He's my favorite.
Me too.
Who's your favorite?
Raphael.
It would be.
It would.
He's a rebel.
Yeah. All right, Kayla.
Yes.
You got your pick.
I do. All right. So you can thank Jared for this pick because I was like, I really, really want to do Cyclops, guys. Why did you take him from me? And they're like, we'll talk about him up top. It's fine. And then
you'll get your chance.
And then Jared recommended Tim Drake, and I was like, I love Tim Drake.
And he's like
that makes sense.
Boy Scout of the Robins.
Yes. Yeah. But then I was like, well, we'll probably get to Tim Drake on another episode.
True.
If, about the Robins or something like that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I ended up going with Saturn Girl.
Yay!
Cool.
Yeah.
So
she's really cool.
excited.
I know. Thought we needed a lady.
She is a Boy Scout.
Yep.
She is a Boy Scout. Real name Irma Ardeen. Her first appearance was in 1958.
Yep.
That's so old.
Yeah.
Mhm.
They're the old comics.
Yeah.
Yeah, Adventure Comics. It wasn't even like a specific Adventure Comics number
When
247.
they used to do comics like that, like adventure comics, sad comics,
Yeah.
happy comics. It's
Yeah.
like, yeah, we get it, guys.
Marvel's way of doing it was like Journey into Mystery.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
Oh my gosh.
Tales of Suspense.
Detective comics.
Yeah, that's it.
But yes, founding member of the Legion of Superheroes. Typically, she's one of three. In the 30th and 31st century. So her stories tend to take place, obviously, in the future.
Yep.
She is from Titan, which is Saturn's biggest moon, which is why Saturn Girl. Get it?
Oh, I never.
Yeah. Well,
I really didn't know.
Apparently, they didn't have a good science police officer program on Titan, so she came to Earth to be a science police officer. Whatever that means.
That's where I'd go.
They police the experiments that they do.
Her powers, the people from Titan, they had that weird word, Titanians.
Titanians.
It's not Titans,
Yeah.
which would be simpler.
Maybe Titanians.
Titanians.
I bet.
But it's not. Okay, whatever.
Yeah.
It's weird, right? Just say Titans.
Yeah.
The Titanians.
Yeah.
They have really strong telepathy, so that's her main power. She's actually been nerfed throughout her
Which is sad.
comic history. But she was like one of the most powerful telepaths there. So much so that one of her trainers in one of the continuities like put blocks in her mind to kind of hold back her power, Jean Grey
sounds
style.
That's basically like their version of misogyny, which is like, well, these girls don't need to go
She's
read
too
books.
strong.
Yeah.
But when she helps found the Legion of Superheroes, she gets the Legion flight ring, which gives her the ability to fly. So that's not innate to her character, but also lets her survive deep space.
Yes.
So, she can breathe and stuff, not
Yeah.
Rings are
explode
so
or
cool.
freeze. Yeah. Reminds me of like Green Lanterns whenever I think of like
Yep.
powerful rings that grant you abilities like flight.
Yep.
So one of the things that Jared pointed out, which is why I wanted to do a little bit more digging, was that she was the first ever female character to lead a superhero team in comic history
Which
ever.
is super cool.
This
Yeah.
is the 50s too.
That's awesome. And the elective process back then, okay, so it gets a little slimy, but she used her telepathy to become the leader. Because she had a vision or a feeling that one of the Legionnaire would die on the next mission. So she was like, I need to prevent this. I'm the only one that knows what's going on. I don't know why people just don't communicate, but comics.
People need to talk.
Yeah. I mean,
If she could have just said like, hey guys, I think one of you guys is going to die. She didn't need to manipulate them, but she manipulated them mentally in order to become leader. She ends up benching the team, sacrificing herself to try to save the person that died, which, self-fulfilling prophecy. One of them was going to die and ended up being her. But instead, her love interest takes the fall. Doesn't want to let her die. Lightning Lad. You'll hear him a lot because,
love him.
Yeah.
Garth Rands is his name, and their stories are intertwined throughout her history as well.
it's kind of like, I mean, as far as in that team it goes, it's like Superman and Lois. It's Lightning Lad and Saturn Girl. Like,
Yeah.
They're just always together.
At first it's because there's this rule with the Legion of Superheroes that you can't be married and be a member.
Mm-hmm.
It's like taking the black or something.
Yeah, exactly. They have to, you can't father children or devote time. No, it's very much like that because she struggles a lot too because he's kind of the one that's like, let's get married. I'm going to propose to you 7,000 times. Please marry me.
Yep.
And she's like, this is my life.
I'm working on my career.
I want to serve. Yeah, exactly. Like, I want to serve the Legionnaire forever. She's just very, devoted to the cause.
Which is a very Boy Scout quality.
Yeah,
Even
exactly.
though she deeply wants it.
Yeah,
she's
exactly.
like,
She definitely has feelings for him. She loves him, but she's still like, this is my job. I don't want to give it up. And she's elected to a second term as leader, which is like unheard of in the Legion.
Yep.
That's great. She's like the FDR.
And this one, it was legitimate too. No manipulations. They were just like, you did really good that first time. Here's a second term. And she's like, what? That's never been done before. Oh,
She's like, do I have my mental power? No, I don't. Okay, this is real.
but yes, after that, she's eventually not the leader anymore, but she remains part of the team. And the Legion kind of grows and grows and grows. She eventually does get married to Lightning Lad in this first continuity. And they end up having children. They retire to his homeworld. She has another set of twins.
What happened to her?
Oh, yeah. Well, fun thing happened called 0 Hour.
Terrible.
And wiped out her entire reality. So she fused with herself from another dimension, but she lost her husband and her children and her whole life, everyone that she knew, all wiped out.
Yeah,
That's
her
a
whole
huge
universe.
It's all gone.
So it's not even like Superman's like planet and neighboring moon died. It's like her entire universe died.
Yep.
That's awful.
Yeah, she just fused with another dimension version of herself.
When did this happen?
0 Hour, that event.
Okay. It wasn't
Yeah,
even Infinite Crisis. It was like a other destructive.
Yep.
No, they're in the future, so
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
in the 30th and 31st
Yeah.
century, so it wouldn't be during that time.
I hope she's going to be cool when they come back, by the way.
Yeah,
I know.
well,
I'm so
later series.
excited.
Yeah. So in one of after that, another continuity, her love interest, still Lightning Lad, but it was also, I can't remember his name, another member of the team.
Brainiac 5.
Brainiac 5. But basically, in this next continuity, Lightning Lad is the leader, and he is the one that kind of ignores her, doesn't tend to her needs, so she finds comfort somewhere else, doesn't tell him for a while, but when she does, they break up.
Was it Ultra Boy?
I think so, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was joking with Brainiac 5. He's
Yeah.
not the romantic.
Yeah, no,
One
I
of
think it
Ultra-
was Ultra Boy.
He can only use one of his powers at a time. One of his powers is infidelity.
He was there for her.
Infidelity.
But yeah, eventually they break up. They get back together. It's kind of a will they, won't they in the second continuity. There's another reboot that happens where the Titanians are, they only communicate telepathically. So she loses the ability to speak.
Yeah.
And she tries to hide that fact for a long time. I think it might be that same continuity too, because she mentions a lot of inadequacy. Like Lightning Lad isn't very good at comforting her and her, what she perceives as a disability.
Which, I mean,
Looks to love
technically it
elsewhere.
is. Even though she has telepathy, it's still like...
Kind of
I'll
sad
t-
that this
I'll
universe
take that.
destroys this really nice couple.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've had some trouble with that team, and that's why there isn't a current Legion of Superheroes happening now.
Yeah.
But they've been popping up.
Yeah. Overall, I mean, in this newest continuity, in Rebirth, she's popped up in several stories, none of her own.
Yeah.
And she's in the present time, not the future. So people are like, how is she here?
It is kind of weird. It's just like Booster Gold, like he's from, or even Bart Allen, like they're from the future, but they're in the current time. So
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah. Well, but then again, like she hasn't had really a focal point in any of the stories. She's been like seen, mentioned, talked to. She mentions that I know Superman. I know him.
Yeah, I think
No one really pressed that issue.
I think one of the last appearances, I mean, I could be wrong, but the last time I saw them, or at least somebody from the Legion of Superheroes, was in Heroes in Crisis. And they had because they have like the confession booths or whatever, and like a couple of them were spread out through it. And I'm like, that's weird.
Why are
Like,
they
did you
here?
go back to this century just to get therapy? Like, they haven't mastered therapy in the 30th century. Okay.
She appeared briefly in the Justice League versus the Fatal Five animated cartoon.
Well, yeah,
the
I mean,
beginning.
it's about that team, kind of.
Yeah, mostly focused on Starboy.
That's terrible.
Really cool. Yeah.
So cool.
But yeah, I mean, some defining characteristics is like her strong sense of duty. She really leans into her work. That's very important to her. She also comes off as kind of cold
Yes.
sometimes.
She's like Batman, but with more of a sunny demeanor.
Yeah.
As far as like being very like stern and like, this is the right thing, guys.
And her
We're gonna do
costume
this.
now is like a pants. It's like sleeves. That's like a cool jacket and pants. Her
Mm-hmm.
first costume is terrible. It's like a swimsuit, but with more skin showing, if that's possible.
This was the 50s, so.
Oh my god! How does she? No, it was.
But
terrible.
she did lead the team, so that was good.
Yeah, she
They're
kind of
like,
got
she
a
might-
Marvel makeover too. Sometimes she's like has shaved head or like at least like really short hair.
Have you seen what she looks like coming up?
Just cool.
No.
She has it, so it's like a whole, like everything's covered, but the suit is red and white.
Yeah.
And it has like kind of like the starbursty thing and stuff like that. It's really cool. And she has like shorter hair.
Yeah, this reminds me very much of Carol.
Yeah, pretty much.
But yeah, no, that's Saturn Girl.
Yeah. See, look, we did a turtle, a British guy, and a girl for Boy
An
Scouts.
alien from Titan.
An alien.
That was really the weirdest combination of characters, though. Captain Britain not Captain America. Captain Britain, Leonardo.
You said Captain Britain, but your eyes said Captain America.
Yeah.
And it was really confusing.
Yeah. My eyes were culturally ignorant people.
Yeah. Oh, and then one last thing.
Okay.
So thank you again, Aaron, for donating to our Patreon.
Yay, Aaron.
And thank you for picking this episode specifically.
You're the best.
We had a lot of fun with this one, clearly from our choices. So as always, you can donate to our Patreon. Give us your episode topic. We will eventually get to it. And it could be anything. Like we just said, he gave us like 3 choices. So you're more than willing to do that. And we'll kind of like pick the ones that we have time to do or like are actually feasible to do.
Or feel like it will make the best episode.
Yeah, exactly. Or like the most fun. And then one last thing. So remember, you can vote for us for the Podcast Awards People Choice Award. The link will be on this episode. It's on our social media and our website. So make sure you go there.
Yeah, vote for us, by the way.
Obviously.
Please vote, because that'd be neat.
Yeah, so we're in the People Choice category and also the Entertainment category. So look for The Phantom Zone on those things.
Yay!
Comic book recommendation time. So, Jared.
My recommendation is Excalibur. It should be Volume 1, is the series that came out in 1988, and this is the team that Captain Britain was on, and sort of started, and it's super fun. It's Alan Davis and Chris Claremont. This is some of Alan Davis's best stuff, I think, and it's almost like weird and psychedelic. It's super cool.
Claremont's on there. So.
It came out in the 80s, which surprises me.
Yes, I read it recently. It holds up super well. It feels like reading like The Lost Boys. Not that it's a vampire thing, but it's like it's still very 80s. Yeah, exactly. It's very 80s, but it still really, really works. And it's like they're a really fun team. It's like Captain Britain and Phoenix and Shadowcat and this fairy mutant lady named Megan and Nightcrawler. It's a good group.
I like how they all have like there's Jean Grey, the Phoenix, Shadowcat, Megan,
Yeah.
Britain. It's like
Oh, Megan.
But like I said, it's like it's weird and alien, psychedelic, but kind of upbeat and fun. And I think you guys will really like it. So, like I said, Excalibur, the 1988 volume.
That's awesome.
Hey, good job.
Yeah.
Good job. All right, mine is Batman and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Volume 1. Came out in 2017.
I cannot believe this exists.
It's really good, and there's a movie. So it's by James Tyon. I think that's how you say his name, the 4th. But this is a really cool story because it has Shredder taking over Gotham's underground. So that's why Batman's evolved. And it's really good. I'm not going to tell you anything else because it's actually really surprising, the people that are interacting with this. And to fuse these two worlds together it was done really well. So pick it up.
Yes. So I'm going to recommend Superman and the Legion of Superheroes. It came out in 2007 by Jeff Johns. So, it's great. Basically, Superman goes to the 31st century because there's been an influx of xenophobia. He's trying to help them deal with that.
Which is a very Boy Scout thing to do.
Yes, it is. And I know, 2 Boy Scout tropey characters interacting. But there's this really good quote from Jeff Johns. And it says that Saturn Girl is the heart and soul of the Legion of Superheroes. When everyone's saying Legion doesn't work anymore, there's too much xenophobia, you can't change people. Saturn Girl says, yes, you can, especially with the realization that she can read minds. So she's seen the darkest parts of humans, like thoughts and psyche, and she's still the ones that's kind of like, we can change them. There's hope.
I thought you did like a deep recommendation. Mine is just like, oh, Batman and Turtles fighting. Yeah, let's do it.
I just feel like that's a really good evidence of what Saturn Girl can represent. And
what if Batman fought some turtles? That is really deep.
There's Boy Scout material in there somewhere. No, that's I doubly recommend that one. That one's really good. So, if you pick up one of them, do that one. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
There's an echo in here somewhere.
There's an echo in here somewhere. Thanks for listening. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter at The Phantom Zone Pod for more podcast updates.